Rain blurred the city lights into streaks of gold as she banged on the mansion gates. By the time the guards opened them, she could barely stand. "Please," she gasped, "I need help. He's coming for me." They exchanged a look, then guided her inside. She didn't see the man waiting at the end of the corridor, the one behind the glass desk and the quiet power that filled the room. When she stepped into the light, he finally saw her face. The bruises, the split lip, the kind of damage that never came from strangers. "Who did this to you?" the Mafia boss asked, voice low and steady, and the moment her silence answered for her, something behind his calm eyes broke, the part of him that used to feel nothing at all. The guards hesitated at the door before letting her inside. Mara Lewis looked like she'd run through hell. Drenched coat, torn sleeve, blood at the edge of her temple. The marble foyer swallowed her small figure whole. "Wait here," one of them said, disappearing down the hall. She could hear music faintly, jazz, distant, expensive, and then silence. Adrian Voss appeared in the doorway. Black shirt, sleeves rolled, silver watch glinting under chandelier light. He didn't hurry. Men like him never did. Mara tried to speak, but her voice caught halfway. "I didn't know where else to go." He studied her the way men study storms, deciding if they should take cover or watch them destroy something. "You're bleeding," he said. "It's nothing." "Bruises don't come from nothing." She looked down. "Please, he'll find me." Adrian's eyes flicked toward the guards. "Who?" "My husband," she whispered. "He's a police officer." That froze even the air between them. He turned slightly, signaling one of the men to lock the door. Then he poured her a drink and placed it on the table. Untouched, but close enough to take if she trusted him. "You walked into the wrong house for mercy," he said. "I didn't come for mercy," she answered, voice trembling. "I came for silence." Adrian paused, because silence was the one thing his house was built for. He studied her face again, and for a moment, the bruises stopped looking like weakness. They looked like proof that someone had survived the kind of man he used to be. "Stay," he said finally. "You'll be safe here." She exhaled for the first time, half in relief, half in disbelief. Outside, thunder cracked above the gates. Inside, Adrian Voss watched the rain slide down the windows like blood on glass. For the first time in years, someone had forced him to feel again, and he hated that it felt like purpose. By the time the doctor arrived, the rain had stopped, but the storm inside the mansion hadn't. Mara sat on the edge of a velvet couch, Adrian's coat wrapped around her shoulders. The house was too quiet. Even the clocks seemed to tick softer, afraid to interrupt. The doctor, a thin man with gray eyes, dabbed antiseptic across her cheek. "She'll need rest," he said quietly, "and someone to make sure those ribs don't bruise deeper." Adrian nodded once. "She'll have both." When the doctor left, the room felt smaller. The fire crackled, throwing gold against the walls. Mara kept her eyes on the flames. "You don't have to stay," she murmured. "I know this isn't your problem." Adrian poured 2 glasses of whiskey. "You don't know what kind of problems I like." "I just wanted to disappear for one night," she said. "That's all." He studied her reflection in the glass table. "You ran from a man with a badge and walked into a house full of criminals. You really think this is hiding?" She met his gaze, tired but sharp. "I think it's safer than home." He couldn't argue with that. He'd seen enough women like her, bruised, terrified, convinced they were broken. But there was something about Mara Lewis that didn't fit the pattern. She wasn't crying anymore. She was calculating. "Where did he find you last?" he asked. "By the bus station. He said if I left again, he'd kill me." Adrian's jaw tightened. "And he will try again. Men like him never stop at warnings." "I'm not asking you to fight him," she said. "I just need to disappear." Adrian looked toward the hallway mirror where his reflection stared back, unmoved, unreadable. "I can make people disappear," he said, "but I decide who deserves it." Her voice steadied. "And what if I don't?" "Then you leave before sunrise." The fire popped behind them. The tension sat between like a third presence. One of Adrian's men, Rico, entered the room holding a tablet. "We found something," he said. Adrian turned. "What is it?" Rico swiped through the screen. "Her husband's name is Ethan Lewis, internal affairs investigator. He's been under inquiry for evidence tampering and witness threats. Real piece of work." Mara flinched. "He told me they dropped the case." Rico shook his head. "They didn't. They buried it." Adrian leaned back, quiet for a moment, watching her face. "You're not just running from a husband," he said. "You're running from a cover-up." She stood slowly, fear replaced by something colder. "Then you see why I can't go back." He nodded. "You won't, not tonight." As Rico left, Adrian turned back to the fire. "Upstairs, third door on the left. No one will bother you." She hesitated in the doorway. "Why are you helping me?" He didn't answer immediately. Finally he said, "Because the man who did that to you wears the same uniform that once saved my life, and I need to remember the difference." The mansion never truly slept. It just lowered its voice. Long after midnight, the corridors still glowed faintly with amber light, guards whispering over radios, thunder rolling far beyond the gates. Adrian Voss stood before the security monitors, tie gone, sleeves rolled, eyes sharp with fatigue. Every screen showed a different angle of the city: train stations, motels, bus stops, places a man might wait for a woman he'd already broken. Rico entered quietly, phone in hand. "We tracked Ethan Lewis's badge activity," he said. 2 hours ago he tried to access the precinct archives. They locked him out." "Meaning he's desperate," Adrian murmured. Rico nodded. "And reckless. His phone pinged near the East River before it went dark. He's moving." Adrian's eyes narrowed. "Toward us?" "Toward her." Upstairs, Mara sat on the edge of a 4-poster bed, unable to sleep. The sheets smelled faintly of cedar and smoke. Expensive safety. She stared at her reflection in the mirror. The swelling had gone down, but the eyes staring back looked like someone she didn't know. She traced the bruise near her jaw and whispered, "You don't win by hiding." A knock came at the door. She froze. "It's just me," a voice said softly. It was Eli, one of Adrian's younger men, no older than 25, nervous but kind. He carried a tray with tea and bandages. "Boss said you might need this." She hesitated, then let him in. He set the tray down carefully. "You're lucky he let you stay. Most people don't walk in here and walk out again." Mara looked at him. "Do you?" He smiled faintly. "I'm not most people." He turned to leave, but she stopped him. "Eli, does he always help strangers?" Eli paused at the door. "No, he helps mirrors, people who remind him of something he lost." Downstairs, Adrian's office lights flickered. Rico set a folder on his desk: photographs, phone logs, bank transfers. "Your cop's been doing business with the Barrows cartel," Rico said. "He's sold them locations of federal raids for 3 years. He's also taken payments from someone inside your territory." Adrian's jaw clenched. "Who?" Rico flipped the page. It was a picture of one of Adrian's own men shaking hands with Ethan Lewis. The air turned solid. "Kill the leak," Adrian said quietly, "but not until I have the wife out of here." "You think she knows?" Rico asked. Adrian looked toward the ceiling, where Mara's shadow moved faintly through the chandelier's light. "No," he said, "and I'm not sure I want her to." He stepped outside, rain dripping from the eaves. The city spread below the cliff like a sleeping beast. He lit a cigarette and watched smoke vanish into the mist. Behind him, Rico waited. "What's the play?" Adrian exhaled slowly. You can't fix what's broken in a cop, but you can make him disappear before he rots the rest. He flicked the cigarette into the dark. By dawn, I want eyes on Ethan Lewis, and anyone who thinks his badge makes him bulletproof. Lightning flashed across the water. Somewhere out there, a man who'd hurt a woman was walking toward his own ending. Dawn crawled across the city like a slow-moving blade. By the time the first light hit the water, Adrian's mansion had already turned into a command post. Rico leaned over the blueprint on the desk. He'll go to her old apartment. It's the only place that still smells like her. Adrian nodded, cigarette balanced between his fingers. Good. That's where we'll end him. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Orders in his house moved faster than sound. Guards scattered, cars started, weapons checked. Every movement quiet, rehearsed. Mara watched from the staircase wearing one of the mansion's gray sweaters. Her bruises had faded, but her eyes were darker now. No longer fear, but focus. "You're setting a trap," she said. Adrian turned toward her. "I'm closing one." "He'll walk right into it," she whispered. "He knows how I think." Adrian's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Then let him believe he still owns you. That's how we'll catch him." Hours later, the apartment was ready. The curtains drawn, one lamp flickering, a glass of water half empty on the counter, every detail reset to look lived in. Outside, 2 black sedans waited with engines off. Their reflections stretched thin across the puddled street. Rico adjusted his earpiece. "Positions locked." Adrian stood in the shadow near the window, his black coat catching the faint light from the street lamp. In his hand, a single phone, already connected to a trace line. When the front door creaked open, no one breathed. Ethan Lewis stepped inside. His uniform was gone. Only rage remained. "Mara!" he called, voice cracking. "I know you're here." His footsteps echoed through the empty space. He kicked the bedroom door open. Nothing. Turned toward the kitchen. Still nothing. Then the phone on the counter buzzed once. He froze. "Unknown. Caller. Who did this to you?" Ethan's face drained of color. "What?" The call connected automatically. Adrian's voice filled the room, calm as a scalpel. "You hit a woman and wore a badge. Tonight both get taken away." Ethan reached for his gun, but the window shattered first. A flash of light, the crack of suppressed fire, and his weapon clattered to the floor. Rico's men were on him before he could breathe twice. Zip ties. Silence. The sound of justice done without paperwork. From a nearby car, Mara watched everything through the rain-streaked windshield. Her hands shook, but not from fear. When Ethan's body hit the pavement, she didn't flinch. She just whispered, "It's over." Adrian's reflection appeared beside hers in the glass. "No," he said quietly. "Now it begins." She turned. "What do you mean?" He looked out at the flashing headlights. "Cops protect their own. The moment he vanishes, they'll come for whoever made him disappear. And that's you." His eyes met hers. "That's us." By sunrise, the mansion felt colder. The city hadn't noticed yet, but by noon it would. You can't erase a cop without waking the system he served. Adrian stood at the balcony, cigarette untouched, watching the first wave of daylight crawl across the skyline. Below, his men moved like ghosts, burning clothes, cleaning weapons, burying evidence in silence. "Everything's done," Rico said, stepping beside him. "The body's gone. The phone's wiped." Adrian didn't respond. Rico hesitated. "You think she'll sleep now?" "No one sleeps after this," Adrian said. "They just learn to lie still." Downstairs, Mara sat alone at the dining table. The long glass windows framed a world pretending to be calm. A cup of untouched tea cooled beside her hand. She'd watched Ethan die. She'd seen justice without uniforms, vengeance without warning. And now the quiet felt heavier than fear. Livia, the housekeeper, entered softly. Mr. Voss said you should eat something. I can't, Mara whispered. Livia placed a plate down anyway. You will. He watches everything. When the woman left, Mara stared at the food until her reflection blurred in the silverware. Then she heard the news. The TV in the corner flickered on by itself. One of the guards must have left it running. Breaking story. Internal Affairs Officer Ethan Lewis reported missing. Police believe foul play. Sources confirm his wife remains unaccounted for. Her chest tightened. The anchor's voice went on, detached and polished. Authorities suspect links to organized crime. More to follow. She turned it off. Silence again. But this time it wasn't peace. It was the sound of the world closing in. Adrian found her there an hour later, still at the table. He poured himself coffee and sat opposite her. They're looking for me, she said. They're looking for anyone who had reason to hate him, which is half the city. Her voice cracked. But they'll start with me. Adrian sipped his coffee. They won't find you. You can't know that. He leaned forward, elbows on the table. I control what they find. Mara looked at him, tired, hollow-eyed. Then what am I now? A secret? Adrian's jaw tightened. You're safe. She stood abruptly. Safe isn't the same as alive. The cup tipped, coffee spilling across the table. She didn't notice. You think killing him fixed it, she said, but it made me exactly what he wanted. A story buried under yours. Adrian stood too, eyes narrowing. Not in anger, but in understanding he didn't like. He'd spent a lifetime cleaning up other people's sins. Now he was staring at his own, sitting in front of him, still breathing. He reached for her hand. Mara, she pulled away. Don't, not yet. The door shut behind her, leaving him with the spill, the silence, and the echo of everything. Power could never control. By dusk, the sky looked bruised. It had that color just before storms. Gray sinking into violet, light refusing to die. The city had learned a new name that morning. Ethan Lewis. A cop gone missing, an investigation gone wrong. And behind every whisper, one house kept appearing in half-spoken rumors. The mansion on the cliff. Inside it, Adrian Voss stared at his reflection in the tall mirror of his office. For the first time in years, the reflection looked older than the man. Lines around the eyes, shadows that never left. The television murmured in the background. Police confirm a widening probe into the disappearance of Officer Lewis. Organized crime units are coordinating with federal authorities. Adrian muted it. He didn't need the sound to know what was coming. Rico entered without knocking, face drawn tight. They're calling it an internal purge. Detectives, reporters, everyone wants a headline. How long before they reach us? Adrian asked. Hours, maybe. They're already tracing calls. Adrian nodded slowly. Then it's time. He slid a sealed envelope across the desk. Get her out. Drive north until you stop seeing city lights. She'll know what to do next. Rico hesitated. And you? Adrian's tone was dry. I built this place on silence. I'll end it the same way. Upstairs, Mara stood by the window watching rain start again. She'd packed a small bag, the same one she'd carried the night she arrived. Different woman now. No longer a runaway. Not yet free either. When Rico entered, she turned. He's sending me away, isn't he? Rico nodded. You shouldn't argue. Her voice hardened. Tell me what he's planning. He hesitated, then said, He's not planning to survive this. Mara froze. No. He says the cops won't stop until they have a name. Better his than yours. She grabbed her coat. Then he's wrong. She found Adrian in the study, papers scattered like fallen leaves. He didn't look surprised. You should be in the car, he said. And you should be smarter, she snapped. Turning yourself in won't fix anything. I'm not turning myself in, he replied. I'm giving them what they already decided to see." He turned the computer screen toward her. Dozens of encrypted files glowed on screen. Evidence of payoffs, police corruption, cartel transfers, all under his name. "They'll think it was me," he said quietly. "And that's fine. The truth doesn't save people. Stories do." She shook her head. "You're not their villain, Adrian. You're their mirror." He almost smiled. "That's worse." Outside, tires screeched. Headlights cut through the fog. The sound of car doors slamming echoed through the courtyard. "They're here," he said. "Then we go together." He looked at her, the woman who'd walked in broken and now stood, unshaken. "You don't owe me that." She stepped closer, meeting his eyes. "And you don't get to decide who I am anymore." The first knock hit like thunder. "Police! Open the door!" Adrian exhaled, calm even now. "Rico's waiting out back. Go." She didn't move. The second knock came louder. The third, accompanied by the metallic hiss of guns being drawn. Adrian glanced once at the gun on his desk, then at her. "No matter what happens, don't look back." Mara's voice broke. "I already did once. I'm not doing it again." The door burst open. Shouts, flashlights. Dozens of armed men flooding the room, light slicing through dust and smoke. Adrian raised his hands slowly, eyes never leaving hers. "Who did this to you?" he'd asked her once. Now she finally knew the answer. She turned away as the handcuffs clicked, forcing herself toward the rear hallway. Outside, the rain hit harder, but she didn't stop. By the time Rico's car roared onto the highway, the mansion behind them was a blur of blue and red lights, a kingdom built on silence, finally learning how to scream. 3 days later, headlines changed again. "Crime lord confesses to corrupt police network. Wife of missing officer cleared of charges." Mara read it from a motel room window. Wind pushed the curtain against her wrist, the same one that once carried bruises. Now, only faint scars remained. She whispered to herself, "He kept his promise." Outside, dawn cracked open, light spilling across the horizon like forgiveness. For the first time, she didn't feel hunted. She felt awake.